Hi, welcome to a video series on New York City school budgets produced by New York City's Independent Budget Office. IBO is a city agency tasked with providing nonpartisan analysis of New York City budget and policies. You can find us at this web address or email us directly. This is the fifth and last video of the series where I answer the question, what is Fair Student Funding, or FSF? How is my school's FSF allocation determined? How can understanding FSF help me understand changes to my school's budget? In the past few videos, we've been looking at the website for PS15. And if we click on Reports and then Budget and Finances, you see that the first two links are for the Fair Student Funding Overview page and the funding detail. What is Fair Student Funding? It is a formula that was introduced in 2007 and funds schools based on student enrollment and the needs of those students in schools. And the reason why it's important to understand Fair Student Funding is that it will help you understand what factors may result in changes to the largest, most flexible pot of funds that is available to a school's principal. So let's click on the overview page. I'm actually not going to spend a whole lot of time looking into the details of this page because most of it is also available on the Fair Student Funding Details page, which I'm going to review in a minute. But first, I wanted to highlight a few key links on this page. First is the Download to Excel feature, if you're interested in downloading the data and playing around with it. And the second is this link to the Fair Student Funding Guide. And this is a really helpful document that tells you everything you want to know about the formula. It explains all the different factors in the formula. And what's really helpful in Chapter 4 is a table of all the weights in the formula. And it tells you how much a student gets for each of these weights. Now, it's important to note that the formula is based on not just enrollment, which is factored in by these grade weights, so all students get the grade weights, but then there are additional weights for certain categories of need, such as academic intervention, English language learner supports, supports for students with disabilities, and finally, portfolio weights for high schools that are either career and technical education schools, academic, audition, or transfer schools who serve students who are overaged and undercredited. Let's go back to the overview page, and now let's click on the funding details to dive into the details of PS15's allocation for Fair Student Funding. Now first, you'll notice that this page walks you through the calculation from the previous school year to the current school year, in this case 22 to 23 initial allocations, and the last few columns are really key in understanding changes to the school's formula. For example, you could see that there is a $25,000 reduction in terms of the grade weight, so the total enrollment of the school is projected to decrease by 6 students, which means that the school will receive $25,000 less in its initial allocation. Similarly, it's important to look also at the other weights because they also affect the school's initial allocation. And the bottom line shows that the net reduction is $16,500 about. Now I'm going to scroll down to the bottom table, which walks you through the calculation from 22 to 23. Now first it starts with the initial allocation from 22, and it excludes 2 lump sum amounts that I'm going to get to in 1 minute. So this is just based on the school enrollment and the needs of students. Now here's the reduction due to the projected change in enrollment and the needs of students in 23 that we just looked at above. Now this change is due to a decrease in the system-wide teacher salary from year to year. Because the formula funds schools based on average teacher salary, that affects the per pupil amounts that are calculated by the formula. Now I mentioned 2 lump sum amounts, and they get added in down here. So that's $225,000, which is called the foundation amount. That's an amount that all schools get regardless of their enrollment, and it's intended to cover the salary for a principal and a secretary. And then there are some collective bargaining adjustments. This accounts for the fact that some teachers in a school have salaries that are higher than the average teacher salary, and schools receive the funds for those differences. And finally, we get to 1.5 million, which is the initial 2023 allocation for PS15. I'd also like to scroll down to the bottom of this page for some helpful links. First is the glossary of terms that could be helpful to accompany the Fair Student Funding Guide. And then there's also the main link to the Fair Student Funding SAM page, which also has a lot of the links that we covered in this video, including the guide, the overview page, and the detail page. For a list of websites reviewed, please see this video's YouTube page. Thank you for watching, and please leave any remarks you have in the survey below. This is the last video of IBO's video series on school budgeting. I hope you're better able to find and read your school budget.